Right, well, onwards and upwards, Steve, yet again, with a true police story. This one, very short, quite interesting. You might find it boring, but at the time, when you're living it, you kind of find these things interesting. So, when I got the letter through, I think it was 1978, somewhere around about then, I got the letter through saying you've been accepted. Couldn't believe it. Report to force headquarters, etc., etc. And did the sign up and the swearing in and all of that malarkey. So we presented for our training. I think it was about 20 weeks in those days. I know these days it's about 6 weeks if you're lucky, probably not even that. But it was about 20 weeks of training. And the first couple of weeks were at Maidstone, and then 18 weeks were at Ashford Police Training College, which was secluded away in Ashford. And so I turned up. I'd had a haircut and all the rest of it. Turned up, and we all stood up in front of the sergeant. And he went along the line up the front, looking at us up and down. We all sort of were standing semi to attention. And then he went round the back and checked us up and down. And then he said, right, well, welcome to Kent Police. Some of you need a haircut. So if I tap you on the shoulder, you need a haircut. Hairdressers just down the end of the corridor there, queue up, and they'll give you a haircut. Now, of course, my hair was really short, not quite skinhead, but slightly longer. So I thought, oh, well, I'm fine. But of course, what I didn't know was, in order to get a barber out, from the town, you had to sort of guarantee at least 20 haircuts, and there were only 20 of us, so the guy walked along the back, and I felt the tap on my shoulder, haircut. I thought, okay, great, that's lovely. So he took about 1/1000th of an inch off, which cost me whatever, tenner, I don't know, whatever it was. And so I had my hair cut. Then we had to go along and get our uniform. I mean, it was a great uniform. Obviously all black trousers, black tunic with a belt in those days. They did away with the belt a little bit later. Nice blue shirts, unlike other forces. In Kent, you had blue shirts for PCs and sergeants, and white shirts for the ranks above that. So we got our nice blue shirts, really baggy, couple of pockets on the front, and to be honest, it didn't look a great sight because most of us were sort of youngsters. Easy, Larry. Most of us were youngsters. My waist then was 28. I'm not far off today, actually. Oh yeah, I am. More like 38. Yeah, I had a 28-inch waist, so when you put baggy shirts and baggy trousers on with a belt to hold it in place, it does look like a sack of something tied up in the middle. But nonetheless, we were quite proud and we liked it, and we felt important for a few seconds. And I was trying my trousers on, and they were about 2 inches too long. They were dragging on the ground. So the sergeant said, well, if you've got a problem with your uniform, go back to stores and they'll sort you out. So I was in the queue for stores. The guy in front of me, his trousers were about 6 inches too long, not just a couple of inches. Really, really bad. So we're in the queue, got up to the outfitter, and the first thing he said to this guy in front of me is, yeah, what's your problem then? And he went, well, the trousers, about 6 inches too long. So the guy came round the counter. He grabbed this guy's belt with both hands and he pulled these trousers up so they were nearly under his armpits. And he said, "This is the police force, son. We don't wear hipsters." And I just couldn't help laughing. He went, "Right, next, what's wrong with you?" And I went, "Nothing," and left. Actually got my mum to take them up later on, but it was quite funny. So yeah, that was interesting. You get organics, which is a waterproof coat, short one for the car, long one for when you're out on plod patrol, and gloves, pair of black gloves, leather, they were quite nice. The silly hat, which was made of cork, and ooh, there's another nice view. I hope you can see that. Yeah, the silly hat made out of cork, and a flat cap for the car, but you were unlikely to be wearing the flat cap for the first 2 years because you didn't essentially get into a car for 2 years. You had to walk the streets. And it's funny because my teacher always said to me, "You'll end up walking the streets," and she was right. So that was that. The stores. Various bits of equipment got lost. You had to pay for your own shoes, yeah, or boots. They had to be black. That was the only stipulation. I had a pair of cowboy boots in black, which I'd bought from a catalogue. You know, I mean, we weren't rich in those days, so we usually ended up buying clothes from a catalogue and paying for them weekly. So I had a pair of boots. I mean, they had spur type things on them, but I took them off and presented myself, and there was nothing they could do about it because they don't pay for the boots. But I think it probably looked a little bit odd walking around the town with a pair of cowboy boots, but there you go. They served their purpose. You didn't get issued with handcuffs. If you wanted handcuffs, you had to buy them, which I quickly did because they were an absolute necessity. You did get issued with the truncheon, which I've already mentioned was like a bit of balsa wood. What else? I think that was it. A black leather belt, a few shirts, clip-on tie, white gloves for ceremonial purposes, and that was about it. So anyway, very quickly after that I acquired some other bits of equipment that I quite liked. When I was at Hawkhurst at the village bobby, I managed to get hold of a very old-fashioned British police cape, and I used to wear it whilst cycling around on this huge black monster of a bike. My favourite trick in the middle of the night when people were kicking out of pubs, especially the ones on the hill, I would fly down the road on the bike with the cape flowing in the wind and frighten the living daylights out of the people who just chucked out. But it was all good fun. Oh, I'm a bit out of breath. I'm going uphill. And I hope you enjoyed that story. I'll see you in the next one. May God bless you.